So we're going to be taking the files that we created in IDEA, and we're going to be putting together a professional looking portion of a fraud report. It won't be the whole thing, but it will be some of the evidence, so you get an idea what the evidence portion of the file might look like. So I have 5 files that I exported from IDEA, and I'm going to try to start pulling together a summary of these various things. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and open one of them. So it doesn't really matter which one. I think I'll open the payee to cash. Well, this looks like all of the payments, so that's not very helpful. So that download wasn't very good. Let's go to the summary of, there we go. This is the summary of the payments made to terminated employees, and we have another file that gives us the detail behind that. Okay, so I'm going to use this as a starter file, so I'm going to start by File, Save As, and I don't want to change my color scheme. I'm going to change the name of the file to Madon Oil Field Services evidence file, and then your name, I'm going to put Sergeant, but you put your name on your file so we all don't have the same file name. So the author's name, in this case I'm Sergeant and you're some other name. Alright, so this is a summary. Now the headings on these files are database variable names. They're not the names that you would put in a polished professional report. So let's fix them to be a more natural. Let's see, number of checks, total regular pay. There was no there was no sick or vacation pay. There was no 401k, health, state. So I'm going to just delete those columns. There was some federal withholding. There was some Social Security, so they paid some taxes on these terminated employees, supposedly to the government. So that's sort of weird, but so put some more natural headings in here. And I will bold them, underline, and center them. Now some of the columns are not wide enough for the headings, so you have a couple choices. You can double click and make them their correct width. But now all my columns are different widths, and it's not a very professional look. Another way to do it is decide the width of your column, so highlight all the columns and drag any one and they will all go to that same width. And then I can format the cells under alignment and wrap text. I can format it so that the titles will stack and fit the width of the column. So that may be a more professional way to do it than to, I'm going to save this, than to have all the column widths, the width a little bit different. The other thing I want to do is format the dollar amounts. And that made that a little bit too big. Double click so that it's correct. So the number of checks are not a dollar amount, but I might like to center that. And then first line, the name seems to be alright. So that's a summary. That's a little bit more professional. I can go up here to print preview, make sure that it's not bleeding off the page, and it is bleeding off the page. I have a couple of choices here. I can reformat it, make the print a little smaller, something like that, but that can be taken to extremes and make it strangely squeezed onto a page. Another thing I can do is change the portrait to landscape, and now it fits on the page. It's kind of left. It's kind of, weighted towards the left, and you don't have to get terribly crazy about that, but you could change the margins to be, wider. Puts it a little closer on the page. Now, there's no title on this. All pages have to have a title. You can put the title on the individual sheet, or you can put a title on your page. So you can go into print titles and create a header. And you can create a footer that would give you your file name and then the date that this was printed off. That's a nice practice, so that if your client prints this, we can put it back print preview. There's a nice title at the top of the page. There's a footer at the bottom giving you the file name and the date that it was printed, and then your data is not bleeding off if somebody should look at it or print it off. Alright, now I'm going to go get another piece of the report and add it to this. So I'm going to go find whatever else. Let's see, let's get the detail of the payments to the employees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here to the tab at the bottom. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to go to move or copy. And then I want to create a copy and go up here to the pull down menu to tell it where to put it, and I want them to put the copy in my report file, in my evidence file. Alright, so now I have payments to terminated employees, and I have the summary, the one I just made. So now I have the same sort of issue with this one. The file headings are all the names of variables in a database. I don't need some of these columns, and so for instance, I don't need these. I already know there's nothing, they're all zeros. I can get rid of those. Do I need the branch number? Probably not. Do I need their position? Probably not. So there's some column headings in the database that aren't revealing to the person that's following up on this problem. So I want to get rid of the pieces of it that won't help them in asserting the crime and trying to retrieve the funds, if that's possible. They may have already spent it, but you just never know. I don't think the branch is so interesting. Get rid of that. I don't think the position here. Active, no. Salary, no. Hourly rate, not too important. Hire date, not too important. Terminate date could be interesting. Why? Because we only looked at 2011 and 2012. But it could be, since they were terminated long before 2011, there could be paychecks in prior years. So that's something that you would follow up on in the investigation. Let me see 2010, let me see 2009. How far back do you want to test once you have found that there have been some breaches? I don't think it's important what the address is of the employee. I don't think that's terribly important. Okay, so know that we need the employee number. Check number could be good. Direct deposit account. We might leave that. We might want the evidence as to where did the funds go. We've got regular pay, and we've got some titles over here. We don't have to write them all out again. Employee ID, probably don't need that. We've got the first name, last name. Okay, let's format these to all have a consistent look and feel. And now let's highlight all of the columns and pick a length that seems to be appropriate, big enough to capture all the contents. And now we'll just format that top row like we did before, and it's grayed out because some of the tabs are one way and some are another, and it's not sure what you want to default to, so just click it twice till you get your check mark. Okay, so we want to change these to dollar format, so let's click on the dollar sign up above, and then the termination date, and these could probably be centered. That would be a nice look. Alright, and we could do a total at the bottom, and that should tie back to our summary. Hopefully was our summary 140.93. It was not. So oh yeah, it was. Okay, good, otherwise we would have had to go back and investigate that for sure. Excellent. Okay, the two files match, so that's how we like it. So in your report, and we'll do a little table that'll summarize our findings, and you can change the order if you'd like the summary to be first. You can just always well, that didn't work. Let's try that again. Move or copy, so we can take that does that not like me? Well, let's just move it to the end and see what happens. It doesn't like that a bit. Let's move this to the end. There we go. So now the summary comes before the detail. Okay. Alright, so let's see if that's bleeding off the page. What's going on with that? Oh yeah, we're bleeding off the page. Let's go to landscape and see if that helps. We've got some pretty serious bleeding issues here. So the other thing that happens is, since this is going to have to be a multi-page thing, on the second page we have no headings here, so that's a problem. So let's fix that. Alright, let's put some titles on here. Header. Repeat rows at the top. We want row 1. You want a cell address? Alright, how about A1? You like that, do you? Okay, good. So now when I scroll down, that first row and the heading are on every page. So now I just got to get this straggly stuff. Alright, so let's go back home. Let's see whether I really need them all to be quite that big. Let's see if I can skinny them up a little bit and get them all on one page. And I don't have any hash marks, so everything has. Okay, that worked a little better. Oops, my totals are not working. Alright, so you didn't like that, did you? Alright, so we'll make the other ones just a hair smaller and see if that works. No, you don't like that. Alright, that's a bummer. Okay, now everybody's on one page. Let's see if it's still looking professional. Okay. Alright, very good. So I'm happy with those. So I'm now going to go get some more data and put it in here. So the next data I have are the non-Friday paychecks. And I'm going to right click at the bottom, and I want to move, and I want to make create a copy and go over to my evidence file, pop it in there. So now I have an extra tab here, which I'm going to rename non-Friday checks. or unauthorized checks, or however you want to do that. And so now we're going to do similar to what we did here, is get rid of the columns we don't need, put a nice column heading in here, and make sure that it's laying out on the page in a good way. So we'll stop this here, let you work on that a little bit, and then we'll start back up in the next tutorial.